It's impossible to turn on the news today without seeing a story about North Korea and its threats of war. Of course, words are one thing, but actual weapons are another. In the case of Kim Jong-un and his secretive country, most experts are pretty sure the North's military is pretty low quality. That said, it does possess some potentially devastating weaponry which would make any war a nightmare. From ballistic missiles to chemical weapons, we've got a list of these weapons for you to assess. Now, given that this is a video on weapons, you can expect to face a quiz on this subject during the video. So, dust off those cobwebs and prepare to amaze everyone with your knowledge of military weapons. Until then, make sure you're comfy, grab a drink, and show us a little love by hitting that red subscribe button. It's that shiny red button right there. KN11, KN15. While technically two different missiles, in actuality the KN11 and KN15 are one and the same. You see, the KN11 is a submarine-launched ballistic missile, while the KN15 is believed to be the land-based version. Both missiles appeared prominently in North Korean parades, catching the eye of Western observers. Now, you're probably thinking this isn't a big deal. However, these missiles are brand new, and they only finished successfully testing over the last year. What makes them stand out from other North Korean missiles is that they use solid fuel. This means they are safer to use in submarines and take far less time to prepare to fire. In addition, the land-based version is used with a mobile launcher, which can be hard to detect and hidden much more easily than a missile that requires a launch pad. With a range of around 2,000 kilometers, these two North Korean missiles can strike anywhere from Japan to US bases in Guam. Although they're likely to be equipped with a nuclear warhead eventually, right now the KN11 and 15 can be equipped with conventional high-explosive warheads or an even deadlier chemical version. Musudan. Also known as the KOKSAN, this intermediate-range ballistic missile has been the poster child of Kim Jong-un's missile program for the past few years. The Musudan first appeared in 2010 during a military parade. While most experts believed this was actually a replica, it did indicate North Korea was working on a missile. Closer studies suggest that the Musudan is based on an older Soviet submarine-launched missile. However, as North Korea was in need of the medium-range land-based ballistic missiles, they simply took the design and modified it. Nonetheless, this missile is seen as integral to the North Korean forces, even though it has failed in testing more than it has succeeded. When it does work right, the Musudan can travel over 3,000 kilometers and deliver a warhead of around 1 ton. This pretty much means that all of Japan, the Philippines, and Guam fall within the range of the much advertised North Korean missile. In all likelihood, the Musudan will eventually be phased out in favor of the newer KN15. Until then, it will remain an important part of any saber rattling by Kim Jong-un. Simpo class submarine. What good are submarine-launched ballistic missiles without a submarine to launch them? Enter the Simpo class of ballistic missile submarines. In an effort to expand its ability to deter potential threats, North Korea decided its land-based missiles should be augmented with a submarine-based version. As with their missiles, North Korea is believed to have developed the Simpo by blending together various technologies and design features from other countries. The result is said to be insanely unsafe for anyone who serves abroad. While the build quality when it comes to North Korean designs is always questionable, the real concern here is that the Simpo subs are also incredibly loud. That makes them easy to track and likely a very easy target for any US submarines who happen to be nearby. Given the high failure rate of the missile this is meant to fire and the short life expectancy of the crew, Simpos are probably more dangerous to their crews than anyone else. However, all it takes is one successful missile launch and the crew have done their job. That's why this submarine gets a mention when it comes to powerful North Korean weapons. Special Forces. While technically not a weapon per se, North Korea's special forces definitely deserve a mention when it comes to anything regarding the power of that country's military. This force is believed to be around 180,000 strong and would be the spearhead of any attack on South Korea. If that number seems a bit high for a group of special forces, it may be because most of them aren't expected to live. You see, North Korea would use this force to infiltrate the front line. Many troops would likely try to sneak in via tunnels, while others would land on shore using submarines and small boats. The rest would be parachuted behind enemy lines using very old Antonov 2 biplanes. Given the alertness of South Korean forces, more than a few planes, submarines, and boats would be intercepted before they dropped off their cargo. Those that did land would likely cause havoc until they were eventually neutralized. If the 1996 incident involving North Korean commandos getting stranded in South Korea is anything to go by, then casualties would be high, as only one of the group of 24 was captured alive. KN09. North Korea places high importance on its artillery forces, and rocket artillery is a key component of this. Introduced into service in 2013, the KN09 is a truck-mounted multiple rocket launcher. It may be substantially smaller than North Korea's ballistic missiles, but the KN09 system is pretty powerful and deserving of a mention. So, what makes it worthy of being mentioned on this list? Well, this missile system is believed to be based on either a Chinese or Russian design. The result is that the KN09 fires a pretty large rocket at 300 millimeters in diameter. This size enables the KN09 to reach ranges upwards of 190 kilometers, where it delivers its 440-pound warhead. Some reports even state this missile could be guided, which would increase its accuracy by a high margin. To provide more bang, each system has 8 rockets and is mobile, which makes it harder to find and destroy. North Korea is believed to operate around 100 of these weapons, which have enough range to hit the South Korean capital, Seoul, from well within North Korean territory. Even worse, some believe the warheads on these missiles could be modified to carry chemical agents. Okay, so all this talk of weapons and destruction has us thinking. Since the two biggest nuclear powers on the planet are the United States and Russia, can you tell us how many nuclear weapons these two countries have combined? We'll accept approximate answers as well, so give us your best answer. We'll ask you again after these entries. M1989 KOKSAN. Like the KN09, the KOKSAN is part of North Korea's massive artillery force. Unlike the missile system, the KOKSAN is a mobile conventional artillery piece. This basically means it's a big gun sitting on top of a tank chassis. If you're wondering how big, it fires a shell that is 170 millimeters in diameter. When rocket assistance is used with this shell, it has a range of around 60 kilometers. This means the KOKSAN has enough range to hit Seoul from the North Korean side of the border. Reportedly, this is exactly what it was designed to do, and we imagine that most of the rumored 400 units are located quite close to the border of South Korea. Prominently displayed in parades and shown in numerous propaganda videos, this artillery piece is central to any military plans Kim Jong-un's forces have. Being mobile only adds to the dangers this piece possesses, as it can both move after firing and keep up with advancing or retreating forces. Drones. Perhaps one of North Korea's most powerful weapons is a nuclear weapon that, pardon the pun, has flown under most people's radar. You see, while everyone has been busy worrying about Kim Jong-un's ballistic missiles, North Korea has reportedly been making some pretty big advances with drone technology. Now, these drones aren't missiles, nor are they anywhere near the level of the drones used by the United States. In this case, they don't need to be. It is believed that North Korea is developing drones which can carry a dirty bomb. Unlike a regular nuclear device, which releases a tremendous amount of energy, a dirty bomb explodes with conventional explosives, but spreads radioactive material all over in the process. In a hypothetical scenario, dozens of these unmanned radioactive kamikazes could fly into South Korea, where they would deliver their invisible but deadly payload. The result would be that a lot of people in affected areas get sick and large swaths of land become unlivable for long periods of time. Since these drones are smaller than planes and can stay airborne for several hours, the threat posed by them is definitely very real. Pokpung-ho. In addition to all of its rocket and artillery firepower, much of the punch of any North Korean attack would come from its tanks. The majority of North Korean tanks are obsolete cast-offs, long abandoned by other countries from around the world. Nonetheless, much like their submarine and missile forces, North Koreans have developed their newest tank using a mishmash of technology and designs. As far as Western observers can tell, this modern tank is inspired by Soviet T-62 and T-72 designs as well as Chinese designs. Adding their own flair, Korean designers have added extra missile launchers and machine guns, which end up making the Pokpong-ho look more like a children's toy than a real tank. In fact, in terms of firepower, protection, and overall capabilities, it is believed that in a one-on-one fight, any modern South Korean or US tank would mop the floor with this tank. So, why is it on the list? Well, the Pokpong-ho is the most powerful North Korean tank. Additionally, if a US tank was attacked by a few of these at the same time, we imagine it wouldn't make for the easiest of times. KN08 and KN14. In the realm of powerful North Korean weapons, no list would be complete without including their intercontinental ballistic missiles, or ICBMs. Technically, however, North Korea doesn't have a true ICBM, as all designs are either still under testing and development or built purely for space research. So we must briefly enter the realm of potentially powerful ICBMs when we bring you the KN08 and KN14. First shown as a crude mock-up in a 2012 parade, the KN08 caught the attention of experts because of how large it was. Since then, the missile has been seen again and has reportedly been tested twice, both times ending in failure. Nonetheless, it is believed this missile is still being developed and has led to a second, newer missile, the KN14. Believed to have roughly the same range as its predecessor, this newer missile is said to be more robust and reliable. Although even if that's true, it's not saying much considering the incredibly high failure rate of previous missiles. While much uncertainty remains over the state of North Korea's nuclear development, some analysts think these missiles could easily strike much of North America with a nuclear warhead. Chemical weapons. Perhaps the most terrifying and powerful weapon in the North Korean arsenal right now is the stockpile of chemical weapons. While often denied by the rogue state, analysts are pretty certain that North Korea possesses a significant range of these weapons. Defectors have even told officials that they witnessed some of these chemicals being used on prison inmates during their time in North Korea. Furthermore, shipments from North Korea containing equipment related to protection and detection of chemical weapons suggest the country has a well-established industry when it comes to this powerful weapon. Attacking the nervous and circulatory systems, recent evidence from Syria has shown what even a small amount of chemical weaponry can do to a population. North Korea is believed to have around 20 types of chemical agents it could use in rockets and long-range missiles. These include substances such as chlorine, mustard gas, sarin, phosgene, and VX nerve agent, the same substance used in the attack on Kim Jong-un's half-brother in Malaysia. Indeed, given the regime's openness about using nuclear weapons, it's more than likely that North Korea would have no problem putting chemical agents in some of their long-range missiles. Okay, time to finalize your quiz answer. Do you know the approximate number of nuclear warheads that the US and Russia have combined? If you guessed around 14,000, then good for you. Of that number, around 3,000 are actually deployed, and the rest are in storage or retired from service. Incredibly, this number dwarfs the rest of the world's combined warheads, which stands at around 1,100. That's all for this topic today, folks. We hope you found this entertaining and informative, and maybe a little terrifying.